I'm not looking for credit, but what I don't want is when I raise millions of dollars, have people say, like this sleazy guy right over here from ABC. He's a sleaze in my book. You're a sleaze because you know the facts, and you know the facts well. Go ahead.
That is Donald Trump. Matthew Dowd, it sounds like Donald Trump got a little hot under the collar yesterday.
Well, it's funny about Donald Trump that he, for 10 months, he understood that having the press as a friend, or having the press, utilizing the press, was the way he broke through in all the course of the race. And now, I think, under more scrutiny, under more questioning, he sees them as a foe. He's moved from friend to foe in the course of this. And I think you're going to see this in the next 5 months, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Valid questions to ask on many different topics. And I think as a presidential candidate, leader, somebody that wants to be leader of the free world, you need to answer many of these questions, some of which you don't like. But Donald Trump is now in a conflict.
But he seemed almost rattled, if you will, that he was being called onto the carpet, and many people saying he didn't handle it very well.
Well, I think, Donald Trump, as you know, Donald Trump has operated for 25 years where he's made pronouncements and never really had to be followed up with them on a number of different things over the course of this, and even did some of it in the primary. He would make statements, and then somebody might question him, and he would just move on. I think now we're in a different point, and I think he's not used to this. I think it's one of the parts of running for president or running for office that somebody from private life doesn't really know, which is that how much you can't stand the press. They fulfill an important role in our country, which is why they're in the First Amendment. And I think he's having a hard time coming to those terms. And
so you think it's going to get worse?
I think it's going to get worse. I think he's going to have to figure out a tact. I think the press now understands that this election is moving forward. It's going to be very close. It's 150 days away. A very close election between two very competitive candidates. And I think it's going to get very aggressive on both sides, both for Donald and for Hillary.
Where does this help or hurt Donald? And what I mean by that is the people who are supporting Trump, it doesn't matter what he says or how he says it or how the media goes after him, they're going to defend him to the end. So where does this change the electorate and or the votes?
Here's where I think so in the short term, I think you're exactly right. I think his supporters say, oh, this is the press and they're biased. And the people, by and large, don't like the media, so getting in a fight with them doesn't hurt. I think over time, in the end, Donald's decisions and things that he's done in private life and in business, whether it's raising money for the veterans and then being questioned about it, or the university started, or any other private business, I think that is what's going to get vetted and what's going to get discussed. And I think Donald Trump realizes that that's his greatest asset and his greatest liability, because it's his greatest asset. It's why he's doing well. It's also the area that if it is undermined, it makes it very hard for him to win the general election in the course of this. So I think you're going to see this vetting of decisions made by Donald Trump in business and in private life over the course of the next 5 months. I think that's where ultimately Hillary Clinton wants this to be fought on.
Yeah. Matthew Dowd, you've been in the room. If he doesn't answer these questions about his taxes, about Trump University, about the vets, they're going to keep asking it, and his whatever other message he has will not get through, because he will not allow these stories to get behind him.
Well, I think he's going to try and put off and put off and put off. I think any one of them on their own is not a big deal. The taxes, not putting out his taxes on its own, is not a huge deal. But I think the accumulation of them is a big deal. And I think when we get to the debates, which will happen in September and October, that's ultimately where this is going to be exposed on either side, both on Hillary's flaws and on Donald Trump's flaws. Those debates are going to matter more than any other debates we've seen in our lifetime.
And one of them is happening right here in St. Louis at Washington University. Matthew Dowd, thanks for checking in. Have a good week.
You too. Take care.
You got it. 7:10 here.